Well, right now, the White House is telling federal agencies to prepare for another possible round of mass firings unless Congress can pass a measure by the end of Tuesday, which is when government funding is set to expire. As we said, one point of contention dividing the two parties is funding for health care. For more on that, let's bring in former Treasury official and Morning Joe economic analyst, Steve Ratner. And Steve, your first chart takes us through projections on how many Americans could lose their health insurance from the proposed budget cuts. What did you find?
Yeah, look, as you said, Mika, healthcare has become the major issue in this shutdown, and for good reason, as I'm going to show you. You haven't heard Republicans say lately, let's repeal Obamacare, have you? I haven't heard it. You probably haven't heard it, because it's not popular to say that. So they've been doing it surreptitiously, piece by piece. They are dismantling Obamacare, and that is what the Democrats are fighting for in this go-round. So let's take a look at the numbers. Obamacare started right about in here and with about 45 million Americans uninsured at the time. We brought it all the way down here to 25 million. In other words, 20 million Americans got insurance, largely, if not entirely, because of Obamacare. And now a combination of changes is going to bring that back up here. And it's going to take away 70% of the people who got health insurance under Obamacare are going to lose it, both because of what's in the big, beautiful bill and because of what's on the table right now, which I'm going to explain. And you can see it breaks down to a few pieces. These are the changes made in the big, beautiful bill. That's 10 million of this 14. And now what's on the table for this shutdown would be 4.2 million more people losing their health insurance if the Republicans get their way. I'm not going to go through this whole chart, but the point of it is to basically say they did it a whole bunch of different ways, very nerdy, very in the weeds, things people couldn't really get angry about because they don't really, frankly, understand most of them. You know, something like a work requirement, which is the biggest of it. You may say, sure, people should work to get Medicaid. But the fact is, many people who qualify for the exemption from work don't know how to fill out the forms, don't know how to do it. And so a quarter of those 14 million people would be people who lose it because they don't know how to take advantage of their exemption from the work requirement.
So, Steve, as we move to your second chart, there are these tax credits, enhanced tax credits that boost coverage that are set to expire at the end of the year. What impact will that have?
Yeah, so that's what's on the table. The Democrats have a long wish list, but when you talk to them privately, what it comes down to for the moment, they're not going to get the big, beautiful bill unwound. What it comes down for the moment is another provision set to expire at the end of this year, unrelated to the big, beautiful bill, a bunch of extra tax credits that were passed during the Biden administration under the American Rescue Plan to both provide more aid and to deal with an original kind of little design flaw in Obamacare. So this is the percent of income that people have to pay for health care. This is the income level starting at the bottom, obviously, and going all the way up here. And under the ACA, there was this cliff where if you got above $60,000 a year of income for a single person, the amount you paid suddenly went up like that and then eventually declined. The provision that was put in during the Biden administration provided what are called enhanced subsidies and took your costs down to here. And so if this expires at the end of the year, as it is currently scheduled to do, for all these folks, the percent of their income that they're going to pay is going to go back to this pink line. And that's what's really at stake at the moment. And you can see that those enhanced tax credits were very, very popular. The number of people taking it went from 10 million all the way up here to 20 million as they came into effect. Most of the people who get it are people down here, which is 250% of the poverty line is about $40,000 a year. So these are people for whom buying insurance would be very, very costly. And so we were providing a wonderful benefit to them that is going to go away in the course of this year if there is not some agreement.
So then you're going to have fewer people on the insurance rolls. And Steve, what does that do to premiums ultimately? I'm hearing the concept of even premiums tripling.
Yeah, so fewer people on health insurance means that health insurance companies raise prices for everyone who's buying through these marketplaces that were created under the ACA or Obamacare, because fewer people, it just makes it more expensive for them. And so you've had 312 insurers already file for their rates for next year. And they're assuming that these things expire. That's what they have to. That's the current law. And when you look at these are all the different ones, but the point of it is 18% proposed rate change, not just for the people that I was talking about before, but for everybody who buys their insurance through the Obamacare marketplace. And then if you want to take a look at what this means for a representative family, take a 55-year-old couple making $85,000 a year. Their insurance bill at the moment is $7,225, thanks to the subsidies that we talked about. The subsidies go away. Their bill goes to $20,792. But then you have what I talked about a minute ago, that premiums just go up in general because fewer people are on insurance. So their premiums actually go to $24,535. You tell me how a couple making $85,000 can afford to pay $24,000 for their insurance. Hence, you see all those people dropping off of the insurance rolls.
Mike?
Wow.
I have a question for you, Joe.
Yeah.
As a former member of Congress, how do you, in good conscience, cast a vote knowingly to eliminate or reduce people's health insurance costs?
I don't know. And I mean, I'll give you a great example. When we first got up there, we had a 95 contract with America, and it was term limits, it was balanced budget, it was making Congress apply, it was tax cuts, it was regulatory cuts. And I voted for most of them, but one of them was cuts in Medicaid. And this was at the height of and I go, wait a second. And the argument was that this is welfare this is healthcare welfare. And I just remember saying, and again, remember, we would go on to be the class that balanced the budget 4 years in a row, the only time it's happened in a century. And I said to my freshman brothers and sisters, I said, listen, if you're going to make the argument that we have deficits because the poor people are getting away with too much, like you live in another country than I do, and I would say to them, go to the hospital in your hometown at 11 o'clock at night and look at the single mom with 3 kids that are using the emergency room as their primary care facility. Yeah. And then vote to cut against Medicare. I couldn't do that in 95. I don't know how anybody did this in 2025. I really don't. Especially these Republicans in swing states and seats that Biden won, and they're trying to justify it because, listen, they thought they were smart by pushing past the election, the cuts, the midterms, the cuts. No. Hospitals in their home districts have to start planning now. So what do? They shut down neonatal units. They shut down nursing homes. They shut down all of these services. There has been, we've been talking about it on the show for some time, an emergency in rural health care, a crisis for the past decade. This has expedited it in a way that again, I guess Republicans from rural America just didn't know how much their vote was going to savage health care. But this is one of those things where, do you really fear Donald Trump so much that you're going to vote against the interests of farmers and small business owners in your own district? In this case, they did.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, on that happy note, Morning Joe economic analyst and YouTube star in a massive way. And I think we all are shocked. I still haven't figured it out. Lemire's doing something for the Atlantic on this. For some reason, he's really big in South Korea and Azerbaijan.
Okay.
Wow. Cross demographics.
Yes.
All demographics.
Get it?
I know.
Okay,
Steve Ratner, thank you as always. Come over and give us a hug.
Yeah, no, he won't do that. He just walks
stays
out.
away from us.
Still ahead on Morning Joe, we're going to take a closer look at President Trump's shift on the war in Ukraine, now suggesting Kyiv can prevail in its fight to defeat Russia. The Atlantic's Ann Applebaum will weigh in on Trump's renewed support and explain what she calls Ukraine's plan to starve the Russian war machine. Plus, member of the Foreign Relations Committee, Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut will be our guest. Morning Joe will be, oh my gosh.
He's coming. Steve's coming.
He's coming here. Okay, fine.
Give me a hug.
Never happened.
There you go, baby.
Come on.